We'll begin this session by having a look at a basic 12-bar blues chord progression in the key of G. The next step will be to go through a few variations and have a look at how we can alter the flavour of the blues by adding ninth chords. We'll then have a look at some chord shapes that will give us the best blues sound for that T-Bone Walker style of guitar playing, and then we'll have a listen to the sound of each chord progression so you can familiarise yourself with the various alterations that we're making with the chord progression as we're going through. So here's our basic 12-bar blues chord progression using dominant 7th chords. And now here's one way you could play the chord shapes for the dominant 7th version of the blues. I'm using a 3-note version of the dominant 7th chords. You might prefer to use a 4-note version. That's entirely up to you. So the fingerings are marked in blue, and this is the G7th chord. Notice how I'm not playing the 1st, 2nd or 5th strings. And here's the 3-note version of the C7th chord. Again, take note that the 1st, 2nd and 6th strings are not being played with this chord. And now onto the D7th shape, which is identical to the C7th chord we just played, only moved 2 frets up the fingerboard. Now it's time to have a listen to the chord progression, and you might even like to play along with the chords once you get used to the chord shapes. There'll be 4 clicks in, and the chord progression is played twice. And now moving on to our first set of variations of the 12-bar blues in the key of G. This first set of substitutions is very easy to follow because what we've done is simply substituted ninth chords where in the previous chord progression we had dominant 7th chords. So therefore it's a very easy set of variations to remember. So let's go and have a look at some of the chord voicings, the chord shapes we can use on the guitar to work towards getting that T-Bone Walker style texture in our blues. Here's one way we could play the G9th chord. You'll notice that in contrast to the dominant 7th chords, the 9th chords that I'm presenting on this video are all 4-note chords. Again, the fingerings are marked in blue. And now here's the C9th chord shape. The interesting thing with this shape is that I'm barring the 1st, 2nd and 3rd strings, but I'm not wanting the 1st string to sound. So I'll be strumming strings 5, 4, 3 and 2. And that's how we get our 4-note C9th chord. And here's the D9th chord shape. It's identical to the C ninth chord, just move 2 frets further up the fingerboard. Again, we don't want the first string to sound, even though we'll be barring across the first, second and third strings. And now it's time to have a listen to our 12-bar blues progression, this time using ninth chords instead of dominant sevenths. It's interesting to compare both versions. You might like to go back and have a listen to the dominant seventh version and compare it with this version. Again, there's 4 clicks in and the chord progression is played twice.